Does the thought of counting calories make you shudder? The thought of having to track everything you eat and put everything you put in your mouth, also track it in your phone and always worrying about that number. If that's overwhelming for you and that's what's keeping you from kind of getting on track with your nutrition, then I have an alternative solution for you. So strap in and get ready for episode 062. Let's go.
I've always been that skinny guy.
Why can't I gain muscle mass?
What do I do in the gym?
They said I'd always be skinny.
This is your complete source for how to gain lean muscle and break out of your skinny body. From nutrition to getting the most out of your workouts and everything in between. We know just how frustrating gaining muscle mass can be, but don't worry, we've got you covered. You're listening to the Bones to Bulk podcast.
Hello, welcome to today's episode. My name is Brian Parody, and I will be your host today. And before we jump into today's episode, I want to encourage you, if you have not checked out my free video workshop, then head on over to bonestobulk.com. It will be worth your time. It's about 30 minutes long, and in it I cover the 3 most common fail points that keep most people from their fitness goals. In addition, I cover the 5 keys to not only crushing your fitness goals, but making sure that it happens. So again, head on over to bonestobulk.com, check that out. You will not regret it. It's worth your time. With that being said, let's dive into today's episode. So counting calories, it's, typically my number one go-to of what I tell people to do. Because when you start tracking everything that you feed yourself, that you put in your mouth, a couple things happen. One, your eyes are opened because we kind of have an idea of what we eat, of what's healthy and what's not. But until we start really diving in and tracking and seeing the content and the makeup of the food we eat, we don't have a clue. At least I didn't. When I started tracking my calories, I was blown away by either how few calories were in certain things or how many calories were in certain things or how much fat or sugar. Like, it was mind blowing. It really, truly was. Things that even that I thought were healthy turned out not to be so much. So if you can track food calories, if it doesn't plague you with a lot of stress, then I highly recommend you go that route. But if you can't always track your calories, because, whether that causes you stress or whether it feels just too hard or too time consuming, I do have some other solutions for you that will help you out in getting your food under control and in both how much you eat and what you eat. So for starters, let's take a dinner plate. Let's divide this dinner plate up into 3 sections. Think of it as having 3 dividers. There's one section that takes up about half the plate. So now we have half a plate left. Now we're going to divide this half up into halves. So we basically have 1 full half and then 2 quarters. But 1 quarter is going to be a little bit bigger than the other. So now that you have this kind of picture in your mind, you've got 3 sections on this plate. For the largest section, that is for your fibrous carbs or your vegetables. So whether it's broccoli or asparagus or beets or whatever your go-to veggie is, or even a salad, that's what goes in that largest spot. The second spot is going to be your protein. Now, your protein needs to come from a good source. I wouldn't recommend red meat or pork more than maybe once a week, just because it's high in fat. Typically, it's higher in nitrates, which aren't healthy for us. And we just get a leaner, healthier meat from either fish or chicken or turkey. So that is my recommendation for protein. If you don't do meat, if you are steering away from that, there's other great sources of protein, from lentils to quinoa. And so you can fill in your protein with a meat alternative if meat's not your thing. Now, the last portion, which is the smallest by a little bit, you've got your protein, which is somewhat close to size, and then you've got your last section, which is a little bit smaller than your protein section. And in this is your complex carbohydrates. So this is your potatoes or your rice or your pasta. And you're going to want to stick with whole grain or whole wheat when it comes to your grains. So for instance, if you're doing pasta, you want to have whole wheat pasta. If you're doing rice, try to do wild rice or brown rice or jasmine rice or something like that that's not just white starched rice. Sweet potatoes, red potatoes, both good options. So you've kind of got the construct of how your plate should look, what should be on it, how it should be divided up. Now, that's not the end all. It's a great start. So if you're not tracking calories, that is my number one tip for how to break up your meal. There's a lot of other aspects to food. You have, if you're not at home and you're not physically preparing your food on a dish, then start packing it, and start packing it in either a container that has dividers in it or different size containers. And the same principle applies. Your largest container is going to have your fibrous carbs or your vegetables. The second largest is going to have your protein, and the third is going to be your complex carb. Listen, packing your own meals is not that complicated. You can do it in a few hours on the weekend and set yourself up for success for the whole week. Get you a little cooler bag and problem solved. Not only are you going to be way healthier, but you're going to be amazed at how much money you save when you're not blowing money every day on eating out. Now, as far as snacks go, you need to be eating good, healthy snacks. A lot of us may do well with our meals, but when it comes to snacking, it's disastrous. We'll eat a salad for lunch and a good portion of protein and fibrous carbs and complex carbohydrates at dinner, but then we're down in, a quart of ice cream with Hershey syrup and some cookies and having a couple beers, and we ruin our good meals by just completely basically undoing everything. Now, I'm not saying you can't have a cheat meal or a cheat dessert or something like that. That's different. I'm talking about when every day you're snacking is sabotaging your meals. So what you want to look for are healthy substitute snacks. So rather than reaching for that granola bar, which is almost the same sugar content as a candy bar, reach for a handful of almonds or some sunflower and pumpkin seeds or some walnuts or cashews or something that will satisfy that snacking tendency, but is good for you. That's going to fill you with the nutrients you need, that your body needs to build muscle. Fruit is another great thing you can take on the go. Dip it in some peanut butter and you've got a great, well-balanced snack. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be this crazy, fresh squeezed green juice from who knows where. You can do this simply and effectively and easily. You can. If the counting calories overwhelms you, divide your plate up into 3, and then in addition, cut your portions down. So maybe start with your plate divided up, as we stated, into the 3 sections. Start from there. So after you're used to that setup, grab a smaller plate. Grab a smaller plate because your portion sizes will go down a little bit. Because we usually eat way more food than we have to. And you might be saying, well, don't I need to eat enough calories? Yes, you do. But what you're going to find is when you're eating the right kinds of calories, the amount doesn't have to be insane. Eating an entire pack of Oreos and Doritos and all this other stuff may not pack on weight for you, but eating the right portion of a healthy, lean protein, of a complex carbohydrate, and of a fibrous carb is going to do so much more for your body because your body is actually able to assimilate that food and use it rather than just have to flush it out. So I hope all this helps. If you are trying to figure out how to get your food on track, I hope this gives you some great ideas. Again, head on over to bonestobulk.com, sign up for the free video workshop. I cover more topics on food. And also, if you're on social media, check us out on Instagram or Facebook at Bones to Bulk. We have an amazing group over on Facebook, people from basically all journeys of the fitness walk, from just starting out to trainers to people who have been at it for years. Lots of different great people in there who just want to encourage one another and help each other out. So again, if you're on Facebook, head on over and type in Bones to Bulk. All right, with that being said, remember, no matter what anybody has told you, what walls you've hit, what things you're facing that are difficult, you can accomplish your goals. You've got this.